Loud at nighttime from these huge waves. There were a lot of people at the pier today earlier taking in that high surf, many of them bundled in coats and gloves and hats. Some surfers were getting ready to ride the big waves. The waves were crashing into the pier below earlier. There were a few surfers in the water, but not many, and right now there's still just one. It was a very dark, gray, misty day at the pier.
When it gets loud and it gets, a little crazy at night, you can hear the waves crash really hard. So I like to see, kind of what the weather's doing. And sometimes, I don't go out during the winter. It's a little too crazy for me. The surf is too big.
Now, the high surf advisory started today at 2 and will continue through 4 a.m. on Saturday. They expect waves up to 15 feet through tonight and, of course, tomorrow night. So a very cold, gray day here. And as you can see, the ocean is raging a little bit more than it was earlier, with one surfer out there braving the weather conditions. And remember, there are dangerous rip currents out there. So if you do get in the water, just swim at your own risk. Reporting live from Ocean Beach, Lauren Davis, 10 News.
Riverboard, pulleys, carabiners.
San Diego swiftwater rescue teams are geared up this afternoon looking for people who need to be saved from flooding. 10 News spent some time with one crew as they prepared for a busy day of work. They tell us they need to be ready to work quickly, which is a big challenge since they don't know where or when they'll be needed.
It's very hard to predict, for one thing, and we want to be in the right spot at the right time.
San Diego Fire Rescue has 9 swiftwater rescue teams roving the area, prepared to jump into action as needed.
And to our north, this very same storm system is forcing evacuations in areas that were recently affected by wildfires. 3,500 people in Lake Elsinore were told to immediately leave this morning. The concern is that debris flows can turn dangerous if mud, boulders, and trees start sliding down the hills. Flames from the Holy Fire last August stripped hillsides bare, leaving them unable to absorb the flow of water.
I think it's best for me just go to work and not to worry about it.
Once the pipes fill up, we're in trouble. The water is going to go back out onto the street, and who knows what's going to happen.
Los Angeles County also issued mandatory evacuation orders for portions of the Woolsey fire burn area. And you can track the changing weather conditions by downloading our free mobile app. Just go to the App Store and search 10 News.
All right, Steve, Brian Schlonsky now inside the 10 News Live Center. And this just in, police are investigating a fight that could lead to the death of a man at an independent living facility. All this happening in Alta Vista. Police say 59-year-old Philip Muse was found unresponsive on the patio and was taken to the hospital, but he isn't expected to survive. It happened here. This is the 5700 block of Mariposa Place. Investigators say that Muse assaulted an employee at the facility, then fought with another resident before collapsing. Police say they didn't find any major trauma on his body, but they are investigating this as a suspicious death case. Guys.
All right, thanks, Brian. Well, there are new details about a frightening incident at Mount Carmel High School. The school put on lockdown this morning when a student stormed into a room with a screwdriver, threatening classmates.
Once again, our 10 News anchor Brian Schlonsky spoke to students who say that teachers around the campus sprang into action to keep them safe.
From Sky 10, the massive police presence outside Mount Carmel High just after 7:30 in the morning.
Me and my friends were kind of freaking out.
Freshman Kristen Ashbaugh sitting in first period when the principal came over the intercom, the building put on lockdown.
I was just thinking of what could happen to us.
In another room, the theater room, police say a student came in with a screwdriver, threatening to hurt classmates and himself. Students went running from the room, and the school says a teacher was able to hold that student in the theater room until police arrived. The teacher hurting their hand, the only person injured.
Unfortunately, this is the day and age that we live in where our students and staff practice lockdown drills regularly. So they know exactly what to do when something like this happens.
In this case, teachers sprang into action. At the time, nobody knowing exactly what the danger was. Poway Unified School District sending 4 messages to parents, letting them know exactly what was happening, part of a new safety plan to keep them better informed.
Anytime you have a situation like this, as a parent, it's scary.
Stress, too much for Ashbaugh. He and the district says dozens of others deciding to head home for the day.
I'm leaving all of this because I'm getting anxiety from it.
Brian Schlonsky, 10 News.
That student was taken for a psych evaluation and is facing a number of criminal charges.
Well, a local brewery has a big mess to clean up. A pipe burst inside, sending water gushing through the building. The owner showed us this video from Def Brewing in the Marina area. A pipe, which is supposed to send water to the fire sprinklers, broke. It sent a muddy mess flowing across the floor. They had to sweep big piles of mud outside to the sidewalk. There's no word yet on total damage or when that brewery will be able to reopen.
All right, now to a developing story and the growing feud over the government shutdown. Today, President Trump announced that he is postponing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's trip to Belgium and Afghanistan, cutting off her access to military aircraft. This comes one day after she asked him to delay his State of the Union address.
As ABC's Serena Marshall shows us, tensions are rising.
This bus loaded with members of Congress barely pulled out of the Capitol complex when
Congressman Takano, what's your thoughts on this?
Their trip to Afghanistan ended before it began. The president denying Speaker Pelosi and a congressional delegation use of a military plane for a trip to Europe and Afghanistan, a trip the president called a public relations event, writing, "We will reschedule this 7-day excursion when the shutdown is over."
It's petty, it's small, it's vindictive. It is unbecoming a president of the United States.
Well, I think government is shut down right now. I think it was appropriate.
As the squabbling in D.C. escalates, the implications real for families across America.
I've pawned everything that I can imagine, and now I'm just at my wit's end.
Many embarrassed that they would need to, for the first time, depend on food stamps, food pantries, and handouts.
Some federal employees withdrawing money against their retirement accounts. So-called hardship withdrawals up 34% over the same time last year. But the shutdown unlikely to end. Even presidential ally Lindsey Graham called the Trump versus Pelosi spat inappropriate, tweeting, "One sophomoric response does not deserve another."
The White House said the reason they canceled the trip was because they wanted to keep the speaker in Washington for negotiations. And when it comes to the State of the Union, they said nothing's changed on that front. Serena Marshall, ABC News, Washington.
A new report reveals that thousands more immigrant children may have been separated from their parents than previously thought. ABC News obtained an internal report done by the Health and Human Services Inspector General. It shows a sharp increase in family separations a year before the Trump administration's no-tolerance policy was publicly announced. The report says it's unknown exactly how many children were taken from their parents, blaming poor communication and tracking by federal agencies.
A woman wakes up to find a burglar in her bedroom. Coming up, the question she asked that sent the man running out of the house.
And a new report finding that recalls of hazardous meat and poultry are up 83% in the last 5 years. Why food safety is falling short in the U.S.
And a group of local seniors say they have found healing in weekly painting classes.
We've had a gentleman that was terminal, and he would come and paint.
How they're defying their limitations with a simple stroke of a paintbrush.
We're not done with the rain just yet. I'm tracking how long those showers will stick around. 10 News is back in 90 seconds.
A San Diego woman overcoming unimaginable obstacles in order to honor her sister. And her unbreakable spirit just earned her a special spot in the Carlsbad Marathon this weekend.
That's right. As 10 News reporter Jared Aaron shows us, she's part of a team with some truly inspirational stories.
She's my inspiration. She's my motivation.
Cecilia Sawyer wears a reminder of her sister Yvonne all day.
This is my inspiration. This was her favorite bracelet.
The two were best friends, a friendship torn apart when Yvonne died of ovarian cancer in 2016.
She was amazing. She loved running. She ran quite a bit throughout our teenage years and adult years.
Cecilia's not a runner.
No, I am not a runner.
But to honor her sister, she decided to run the Carlsbad Half Marathon. It's a challenge, but Cecilia has practice overcoming challenges.
I was born with a heart defect.
She had heart surgery at 5 years old. Then in her 30s, a drunk driver slammed into her car.
I had to have my whole left side rebuilt, including a complete hip replacement. So overcame that. That wasn't part of the plan.
Neither was cancer, her sister's or her own.
5 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'm here to say that I'm a survivor.
After facing all that, the idea of running a half marathon doesn't seem so daunting.
We don't ask for these things in our journey, but we just have to accept it and overcome it and adjust.
And Cecilia knows her sister is watching.
I want to make her proud and finish the races that she had already accomplished and fill those running shoes that she left behind.
Jared Aarons, 10 News.
And Jared also spoke to some of the coaches for the Lucky 13. They say that Cecilia has been an inspiration to the rest of the team, and they're all looking forward to the race Sunday.
Well, it's not your imagination. Dangerous foods are being recalled at alarming rates. A new report by the U.S. Public Interest Research Group found an 83% spike in meat and poultry recalls since 2013. In that same time, produce and processed food recalls rose 2%. The bad food made 1 in 6 Americans sick and caused at least 3,000 deaths every year. Critics of the report attribute the increase to better testing procedures and higher government standards.
We have a crime alert. We have new video of the suspects in a deadly shooting last month. Police sent us surveillance video, this right here, showing 2 men in a white truck. They are believed to have opened fire in a drive-by shooting December the 8th on 42nd Street in the Mount Hope neighborhood. 2 men were hit. One was Elisha Hunter. He died. Investigators are hoping that someone will recognize the men in that white Chevy truck. And if you have any information that can help, you're asked to please call Crime Stoppers.
A blow for Los Angeles today. A part of SpaceX's plan to build a rocket to Mars is taking off for Texas. The company says it'll assemble the prototypes of its Starship spacecraft at its facility in southern Texas instead of Hawthorne. SpaceX won permission last year to build a giant new facility on leased Port of Los Angeles land, which could potentially have added hundreds of jobs to the region. The announcement comes just days after the company announced it's laying off roughly 6,000 workers.
Now, 10 News Pinpoint Weather, sponsored by Mozzie Heating, Air and Solar, voted Best Heating and Air Company 2 years in a row.
Seen the radar on our newscast throughout the day. It's going to be a long night ahead for us, too.
We still got some showers lingering into tonight, but it's starting to look a little better. We're starting to dry up out there, but certainly still dealing with showers in some parts of the county. As far as our 4-day rain totals, this just came out in the last half hour or so. Palomar Mountain takes the cake in San Diego County. 4.5 inches of rain. This is just in the last 4 days. Just over 3 inches in Julian, 2.63 inches in Fallbrook, a little less than 2 inches in Oceanside and Escondido, 1.3 in Encinitas. So we got a lot of really good rainfall this week. Taking live outside right now in La Jolla, you can't really see much. This is from La Jolla Shore. So in addition to those showers that are coming down, we have a lot of foggy conditions. Anywhere pretty much west of the mountains, you're dealing with some fog right now. 0.3 miles of visibility in Carlsbad, 0.8 in Vista and Fallbrook. So another reason to be careful if you're heading out on the roads. We've seen this system move east, and it's pushing east-southeast through San Diego County. So we're starting to see a little bit of improvement here locally. Our Pinpoint Doppler Live drying up for much of North County, where we saw the heaviest rainfall totals earlier for today. Right now, dealing with some cells pushing through the greater downtown area, Chula Vista and the South Bay, even along the 8th through Alpine and Mount Laguna. So we're starting to dry out a little bit, but we're still holding on to a chance for some showers overnight and even into the early morning hours. So our chances increasing, according to this model, up to 50% by 10 p.m. into midnight, and then tapering out after that. This is the last storm that we're dealing with of 3 that we've had so far this week. As far as our futurecast goes, still hanging on to some showers through the 7:30 hour, especially along the 15 corridor. So if we get any more rainfall, the heaviest stuff will be a little bit inland and of course to North County, where that storm has been pushing in. Even as we transition into midnight and into Friday, still holding on to a slight chance for showers. Anything we get is going to be relatively light, so the heavier stuff has passed for the day. We also have a wind advisory. This is for our mountains. This will stay in place through tomorrow at 7 a.m. Winds out of the west-southwest between 30 to 40 miles per hour, gusts up to 55 miles per hour, potentially 65 miles per hour in isolated areas. We also have a high surf advisory taking us through Saturday morning, sets up to 14 feet with waves peaking Friday morning. So do be careful. We also, as a reminder, shouldn't be getting in the ocean 72 hours after it rains. So 7-day forecast looking a lot different than it's looked all week long. Friday, we're going to start to see the sun coming back out. 70s returns. Saturday, cooling down slightly into Sunday. Sunshine taking us all the way through Wednesday into Thursday. Inland Valley, sunny skies for tomorrow. Nearly 80 degrees by Saturday. That hasn't happened in quite some time. 74, cooling down slightly for Sunday, back in the 60s for Monday. Wind advisory continues through tomorrow for the mountains, but sunshine across the board.
I do miss
been a
the
while,
sun.
huh?
Yeah, it has been.
Nice. Yeah, the rain was good, but I think we're all happy the sunshine will be back.
We just dry out for a little bit.